It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. He is Paul Dottino. We're taking your calls at 201-939-4513. Hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter. Pearson, grab me a water when you get a chance. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we are going to talk about what happened at training camp practice today. Second consecutive day of practice, Paul. Second consecutive day in pads.
Yeah.
And it was a hot one, my friend.
More so than yesterday. I mean, it really was a scorcher out there. And, you know, two things that have a result of a scorching day like that. Number one, obviously, you're just sweating bullets and you're drinking as much as you can. The other thing is it really tires you out. The longer you're out there in that kind of heat, the more it saps your energy and just drains you. But I thought it was a relatively good practice. Not a ton of highlight plays early on, but then some more later on in the practice. Bottom line is these players get a breather tomorrow, John. They don't have to go out there on the field tomorrow. They don't go back out until Thursday.
Yeah, basically what Brian Daboll has always done. He won't have these guys practice for more than 3 consecutive days. So this has been the third consecutive day of practice. So 2 padded. The first one was just shells. They'll be off tomorrow. Then they'll be back at it again on Thursday, Friday. And Saturday, we are happy to be in the very air-conditioned Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. So, Paul, a couple pieces of news from practice today.
Yes.
Malik Neighbors did leave practice with an injury. As you can see from all the beat reporters out there, they're saying it was a shoulder injury. All I could tell is that he was holding something upper body.
Yeah.
So, Giants have not made any announcements on that, but the beats all seem to be reporting that it does not appear to be serious, or does not appear to be a lot of concern about it. But it is worth noting that he did go down during a run play during practice and was helped off the field.
To give people an understanding of what we look for when we're here and there is an injury that occurs, usually if you see a player very angry when he slams his helmet down, or if he leaves the field on a cart, obviously, or if he leaves with a towel over his head, and you can see him visibly angry and demonstrative and upset, chances are it's probably more serious. But when a player is able to walk off under his own power and does not look like he's visibly very agitated, usually that means the injury is more of a minor concern and not very serious. So Neighbors did come out of practice, did not participate in the latter half. But again, I did not get the opinion from watching him that he seemed very animated or upset about it. And that's about the only sniff that I could possibly add to this. That's the kind of thing you learn from experience from watching these things.
Yeah, so hopefully he's okay. Something to keep an eye on. We're not going to hear from Brian Daboll again until Thursday morning, so
Right.
I imagine we're not going to know anything until then. Jalen Hyatt still not back there doing team stuff.
Right.
Wanda Robinson also got the day off today again after that collision a couple days ago. So that's kind of where they are injury-wise, but you mentioned, Paul, not a ton of highlights.
Well,
Another...
Scatterboo.
Oh, and Cam Scatterwood did not practice today.
Right, he's sore. Lower body soreness.
Yes, and I believe he did do individual, though, right?
Yeah, but that was it.
But he did not do team.
No.
That's correct. So not a ton of highlights. Again, it was a lot of early down stuff, first and second down, running the ball, and then some play action stuff. Just not a ton of passes down the field, so not a ton of wow plays.
No, not really. First half of practice, John, in the team drills, there was a nice play by Wilson who rolled out to the right and hit Daniel Bellinger for a touchdown. In the first half of practice, I thought that was the one flash play. Right?
And I thought it was just a really good play action fake.
It was.
Wilson really sold it. He hid the ball when he rolled out, and someone clearly thought it was a run because Bellinger was wide open in the end zone.
Well, again, sometimes there are miscommunications. There may have been a miscommunication in the secondary. Maybe someone was supposed to pick him up. We don't know. Maybe it was just because of the fake, but it was sweet. And of course, Bellinger hauled it in. I thought about midway through, Tyrone Tracy had a nice run behind Evan Neal.
He cut it back to the right, correct?
He went for about 40 yards. Mm-hmm. Really nice play. And it was Neal, who, by the way, did speak to the media. We'll get to that in just a bit. Neal clearing a pretty nice hole in the run game, which is what he does.
And Tyrone Tracy talked about it, how he moves stuff is what
Yes.
he said. I believe he was going to use a different word, but decided to land on stuff. And by that,
idea.
he means people. Evan Neal spoke to the media today as well, Paul. Just a large man. He said that's what gives him his advantage, his strength. We saw him hold up against an Elijah Chapman bull rush during pass rush one-on-one stuff. And he's just a large man. He moves people. And that's going to pay dividends in the run game, especially at guard where he is now.
Folks, I will say this. For all of you who've been down on him, and understandably so, he's had injuries, he's been inconsistent. I get all of that. The one thing about Evan Neal so far during this offseason is that according to the coaches and his teammates, and now according to him, because we finally heard him speak today, he's all in on doing everything he can to resuscitate his career. And if it means moving to guard, whether it's left guard or right guard, he is all in. He said all the right things today during his media session, John. In fact, I thought it was probably his most pleasant, most effusive media session maybe that he's had since he's been here.
I mean, I've always thought Evan does a nice job with that stuff. I never thought he had bad media availabilities. You're not the first person that have said that to me today. I've always thought Evan's done a nice job with the media, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, I think he's very comfortable. I think he just wants to look. He knows they didn't pick up his fifth-year option.
Right.
He knows this is the last year of his rookie deal. He knows he has to play well, and I think he's trying to be a good teammate, which was Brian Dable said he was when they asked him to move to guard. There was no complaints. There was no hesitation. And I think he's just trying to show that he's all about the team. And look, if he knows he can succeed at guard, have you seen what guards have been getting paid in the National Football League?
Pretty good money.
Yeah, $20+ million a year. So, yeah, if he becomes a really good guard, that's a win.
So, I don't want to ever say that Evan Neal was poor to the media, but he seemed a little bit more relaxed and maybe a little bit more energetic today than what he usually was. And again, justifiably so because he's doing a nice job. Some other plays maybe that we saw late in practice. I had 3 or 4 others that I marked down.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I had Wilson on a right rollout to Smith-Morset, made a diving grab down near the goal line. That was pretty good. Dart hit LeJordan Humphrey in the right corner of the end zone.
Well, another back shoulder for you. That's the Paul Dottino special.
Well, you think I'm not going to mark that down?
I know. Well, you didn't call it a back shoulder. That's why I had to call it
because
out.
I was about to say it was, I believe Art Green was beaten on that back shoulder. He was there, but because it was a back shoulder, he couldn't make the play.
We've seen, I think that's probably been Dart's most consistent throw since he's gotten here.
He seems to like that. Next time I get a chance.
He did a lot at Ole Miss, so it's not surprised. It's on his college tape.
Next time I get a chance to just meet with him for a minute or two, I want to talk to him about that because it's a beautiful thing. I also liked, let's see here, Tommy DeVito had a touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone to Cambry. That was late. I thought that was nice.
Yep.
I also had a really terrific pass breakup. I'm sure you had this one too, John. This was Banks on a Winston pass to Dulcich.
Yep.
Banks knocked it away. That was really well-timed. Beautiful, beautiful pass.
That was left sideline, yep.
And then the last one that I wrote down that was kind of a splash play, at the very end, Wilson hitting Darius Slayton for a touchdown. Flott was right there.
Crossing along the end of the back of the end zone.
Flott was right there. And Slayton went and reached down, made the catch for the score.
Yep.
Those were the highlight plays for me today.
Those are my highlight plays as well, so I have nothing to add to that. I was watching the O-line, D-line one-on-one, so I'll give you some of my highlights from that. I mentioned that Neal had a good rep against Chapman on that bull rush. Then, unfortunately, he got Abdul Carter one-on-one a couple times.
Oh, well.
Where they put Carter in it at defensive tackle. It wasn't like these dominating, quick, Neal did not have a chance type of deals, but Carter did work his way past him on a couple of those. And they kind of high-fived afterwards. I think there's a respect between those two guys. So it was good to see him. If I'm Evan Neal, I'm thinking, aren't they not playing tackle anymore, so I don't have to see guys like Abdul Carter? Wasn't that the whole point of this?
What are they doing? They're moving him.
See now, but again, that's how my mentality is probably different than an NFL player. I'm sure he was like, yeah, this is great. I get the challenge. I get to face the best guy here. I'm thrilled about it. So they had a good back and forth on a couple of reps. Jermaine Illuminor and Brian Burns went against each other 3 times. Kind of a back and forth. Burns won 1 or 2. Illuminor maybe won 1 of them. So that was a fun back and forth. Illuminor had a good rep against Abdul Carter. He slowed him down. James Hudson was back and forth. Kayvon Thibodeau, again, used length and power a lot on his 2 wins late in the drill. I thought he had a couple good reps. John Michael Schmitz had a couple good stops. Nacho did get him once, but I thought he had a couple other good ones along the way. I mentioned Hudson. I thought Josh Azudu, Thibodeau got him on the last rep of the session on a quick inside move, and Zudu kind of just overset him outside a little bit. Otherwise, I thought Zudu had 2 or 3 really nice reps during the period. He was good. I mentioned Burns and Carter, so there was one other one that was someone had a good bull rush. Oh, Alexander had a good bull rush against Runyon, but otherwise he got stopped in a couple other ones. So back and forth, I thought this was more even Steven, maybe slight edge to the defense. Than it was yesterday where I thought the offensive line kind of got the best of the period. So I thought it was a good back and forth in the one-on-ones.
Interesting about Carter. I was doing a TV interview with Kiwanuka. I missed the O-line, D-lines. I was glad John was able to get over there to see it. But Kiwanuka, I asked him specifically about Carter. I said, Matthias, you were so versatile. You played all the line positions. You played strong side linebacker. You were all over the place. You were up. You were down. We keep hearing that they're going to do a bunch of things with Abdul Carter, and he's done a lot of stuff at Penn State. But as a rookie, how hard is that to make the jump into the NFL and to be given that entire salad bar right out of the box? And he just started laughing. He goes, that is hard.
Which, by the way, and if you talk to Kiwi now, like he never said this when he was playing, but he'll tell you, like, my career could have been a lot different if I actually got to play where I was supposed to the whole time.
If he had been just at defensive end the whole time, he would have put up some nice numbers. He would have. I think it was for the team that they moved him, and he always did what was good for the team.
It's very similar. The same way Abdul Carter showing up in Burns and Thibodeau already here. When Kiwi showed up, it wasn't just 2 guys ahead of him.
I know.
When Kiwi showed up, it was Osi, it was Tuck. Strahan was here as well. That was his final year.
Sure was.
And then JPP eventually showed up to play edge as well. So it was a bit of a crowded room to get him into his traditional defensive end spot.
So not only did I talk to him about the way to use Carter and obviously the challenge that he's going to have as a rookie, which, again, Kiwi said it's a monumental challenge. I did ask him about having, quote, too many pass rushers. And what is it like for you as a guy who knows there are so many other guys who are in your role, and you're going to have to split snaps, you're going to have to share snaps, and now you have to mentally adjust to that you're not going to get the bulk of the snaps. You're not going to be the guy who's in there every play to set somebody else up. And he said that is also a mental adjustment that you have to make. You have to understand that everybody's got to eat. Everybody's going to get a certain amount of reps. And it's better for everybody as a whole, for the team, if everybody takes fewer snaps so that they all get an opportunity. He said it's going to be an adjustment. Carter's going to have to understand that there will be some times he's going to be off the field that he wants to be on.
Yeah, and I think he'll have to figure that part out. We also had some media vals. We have a full bank of calls here we're going to get to in a second. We mentioned Evan Neal. We heard from Tyrone Tracy after practice. He talked about Evan Neal and again, he talked about what we kind of talked about in the spring, Paul. I always like when the players mirror what we say on the show because it makes it so that we actually have half of clue of what we're talking about half the time. But how him and Scadaboo and Singletary, it's not going to be like, all right, this is the goal line back, this is the third down back, this is your first and second down back. They all do everything. So my guess here, Paul, is that we're going to see a situation where, all right, this series, this one's yours. This set of downs, this one's yours.
Could be.
Because it doesn't seem like, maybe on the goal line you'll see more Scadaboo than the other guys, but I think they like Singletary in those spots too. I think they trust them all as pass protectors, as Tracy said. As Tracy said, they trust them all as receivers. So I think it gives them a lot of versatility with who they're going to use when, since all 3 guys can do everything you need.
There are a lot of options on how you can break this thing down because of the abilities of all 3 of those guys. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to add this again, and I've mentioned it a number of times. Eric Gray being hurt has really impeded his chances of making this team. Because if the Giants go with 4 running backs, Dante Miller wants a spot, John. He runs hard. He runs fast. He looks like he's reading the holes even better now that he's in his second season. If there's going to be a 4th running back, Dante Miller certainly is gaining some ground on the spot. Now, what is he going to do in the preseason games? We'll see. I mean, are you married to 3 or are you married to 4? How do you feel?
If I'm keeping 4 tight ends, I don't know how I'm keeping 4 running backs.
That's going to be hard to do. Very hard to do.
Let me put it this way, Paul. If you're keeping 4 running backs, is that 4th running back ever getting a jersey on game day?
No.
So why do you keep 4?
Yeah.
Now, if you get to a spot where your 4th guy is so good in preseason games that you don't think you can get him onto the practice squad and
I know.
you love him that much and you don't want to lose him, then yeah. But let's be honest. Is there room to play anyone
No, there's
behind
not.
Singletary, Scadaboo, and Tracy?
There's really not.
Heck, if
There's really not.
I wouldn't be shocked if we end up, and this is not me knowing anything, folks, it's just me talking, so do not report this or aggregate it. Like, would it shock you if we got to the end of camp and Scadaboo and Tracy have been so good that teams start calling about Singletary? If they need a veteran running back? Would that shock you? If teams, I'm not saying the Giants would answer and say, yes, we'll move him, but would you be shocked if other teams would call and make that call because they respect
No.
Singletary and they could use him?
No, I would not be shocked. He's an accomplished NFL back who's done a lot of good things for
Good player.
for playoff teams, by the way, too.
Good player.
And he's a pro.
Yeah.
So no, that would not shock me if somebody showed interest in him. Yeah, I think that running back room, the book is yet to be written there. And there are different ways they could go, but I see your point. The fourth running back is not going to get a jersey. Now, the problem, of course, is, A, can you get him onto practice squad? If you like what Miller's doing, can you get him onto practice squad, number one? And then number two, even if you get him there, might he get plucked? There's always running backs. You know how they get hurt, John. They get dinged. And
Again,
even if you need somebody for 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to want that other guy.
To your point, how does he do in the preseason? Because that's what's going to
Yeah.
dictate whether another team tries to pluck him.
Yep.
All right, you ready to do some phone calls?
Let's go.
All right, 201-939-4513. Just a reminder, run or walk with Giants Legends. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative t-shirt, and after the race, stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants Legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. And while you're there, and if you want to see this Giants team on the field this year, go to giants.com/tickets. Season ticket memberships, you can check those out. Individual tickets as well. You can find it all at giants.com/tickets. All right, our first call of the show is on specifically for Paul. I want to go to Ed in North Carolina. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing? I appreciate the job you guys do every day.
Thank you. What do you got for us, Ed?
Appreciate you.
Yeah, so I know it doesn't get talked about a lot, but in realistic football terms, fantasy football is a big part of the popularity of football, and I'm a Giants fan. I'm in fantasy football draft. Assuming Malik Neighbors is the first person you could get, I would like Paul to pick first, if it's okay, and say who he think I should take on my fantasy football team for the Giants, and then John, if you would pick another person.
Sure. This is, aside from Neighbors, who you think might be really high production-wise from this Giants offense.
Correct.
Okay.
And I've taken a lot of Tyrone Tracy stock so far.
All right, Paul, what do you got?
Well,
Paul's in 6 leagues this year, by the way, so he's ready to go.
you don't believe that for a second, do you?
Yeah, he's in 8.
0.
Tyrone Tracy had over 1,000 yards of combined yardage from scrimmage last season. So it would be very hard for me not to tell Tracy because, quite frankly...
Are you afraid, though, that Scadaboo might cut into his production?
Well, he might. And to be frank, I've said on this program before, I could definitely see Scadaboo as a touchdown gobbler.
Yes.
I've told you that before.
He could hoard touchdowns. And by the way, they're also going throwing passes out of the backfield.
Yes.
So if you have a running back, and this is to your point, Ed, if you're late in the draft, and if you know a running back's going to get goal line carries and catch a lot of passes, it's a lot of free points, especially if you're in a PPR league.
You know, I do believe that when push comes to shove, at some point during the season, and I don't know how early it's going to be, I think in key spots, Scadaboo's going to be number 2 ahead of Singletary. I do believe that.
I would not be surprised by that, Ed. I'm going to give you Theo Johnson. I think he's a guy as a flyer late in your draft. I believe he is going to be a 80% of the snap tight end type of guy. They like him as a blocker and a receiver. He's a big target for Russell Wilson. Now, the problem is that Russell Wilson does not throw over the middle a ton in those short and intermediate areas.
No.
So that could limit him, but he's so big and tall, he might be able to get him the ball anyway just because of his size. So Wilson has not historically thrown to the tight end a bunch when he was in Seattle, so that's a little bit of a worry for me. But, you know, Slayton, if he's going to be like your 4th wide receiver, that's fine. I mentioned my thoughts on Scadaboo. I think those are the guys I would consider taking.
Hey, John, is it okay if I ask Paul one quick one?
Of course.
So, Paul, I know you go back and you always call out the teams like just off of knowledge, which is crazy to me. But you guys have seen Abdul Carter. I know it's just, shirts and there's no pads. But, is there anybody that Abdul Carter reminds you of, Paul, that is a past Giant player? That he has that twitch or he has that move or he has that something that reminds you of some of the other guys?
I've said this before, and I know John has a perspective on this too.
And thank you, Ed. Appreciate the call, man. Good stuff.
I've told a lot of people, and I've mentioned it to the former Giants who we've seen at training camp, and they've all agreed that they saw the similarities. He's got the body type of Pepper Johnson when Pepper played here. Thick neck, broad shoulders, very boxy. You've mentioned OC. OC wasn't quite with the thick neck and the boxy.
Well, I would more compare him to OC in terms of pass rush style.
And that's fair.
Yes.
That's fair because he's a pass rusher, and Pepper was not as much of a pass rusher. He was more of a hulking, athletic, physical, smash mouth kind of backer. But the frame, the body reminds me very much of Pepper Johnson. I even told Pepper that the other day when he was here. But his athleticism and his ability to have range and to cover a lot of the field reminds me of Jesse Armstead. So when you combine Armstead's range and athleticism and quickness with Pepper Johnson's body, who was much more bulky, not that he didn't have athleticism because he could cover backs, but that is quite a unique combination of talents.
201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Are you more of a full PPR league, half a point PPR leagues? What are you usually playing?
Folks, he's really something, isn't he?
No?
PPR is points per reception?
Yes! Yes, it is. It is points per reception.
Hey! I got it.
It's a high five.
Nice!
Oh, he does.
That was a reach.
How did you know that?
That was a reach. That was really a reach. But at least I got it.
I'm shocked and impressed.
Well,
maybe you are in leagues and you're just not telling us.
No, there's no facade here on that one, John.
I think there's a facade.
No facade.
One YouTube comment I want to get to quickly from Virtually Speaking Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be using neighbors on run blocking plays? Yes. You have to. Everyone's got to block, boys and girls. This is football. You out there, you're running the ball, number one wide receiver, you got to block. Sorry, you can't put guys in bubble wrap. They got to play football.
I got a question for you. Do you want some nice running plays turning into big running plays? Do you want that extra 10 and 15 yards downfield when your running back has the opportunity to get into the second and third levels of the defense? Yeah, if you do, you better tell your receivers to block. It's pretty simple.
Oh, I did not see this. This is interesting. From
What do you got?
Aiden Fink. Good to see Paul Dottino get some throwing action today during practice when a couple balls went towards the sideline and need to throw them back into play. He says you throw a nice spiral, should be considered as a backup quarterback.
Not happening.
I didn't notice.
I appreciate it, though.
Did you have to throw the ball back to the
I
guys
did.
down there?
I did. In fact, one of them, I had to go. I hit Tim Slayman, the equipment manager, and I knew it was too far away. The ball was wet and slippery, and I knew I wasn't going to get a good throw on it, so it was short. I landed a couple yards short, but it was a nice spiral. But hey, one thing I could do, folks, I never actually played the game. I've studied the game as long as I can remember since I was a kid, but I never played organized football. I don't like pain. Okay? That's what it comes down to, John. I don't like pain, and the physicality of the game, while I love watching it, it's not something I ever participated in. Here's what I will say, though. Man, when I was growing up, intramurals and street ball and stuff like that, people always wanted me because I could throw that spiral. I had I could spin it. I could really throw a good spiral. And so because of that, people always wanted me on the team because I could throw it. But that's a lot of years ago.
I tell you what, when that ball does go to the sideline, there was a lot of pressure because everyone looks at you and they're waiting for you to mess up.
Oh, I know.
Oh, they just want you to have a bad throw, worse than anything in the world. And to your point, you're out there, you're sweating, you haven't thrown it all.
No.
And
the ball is slick.
I avoid, the ball comes in my direction, I get the heck out of the way. I don't want any part of throwing that ball back because you know why? No good can come of it. Because your arm's never going to look good because people are watching Russell Wilson throw passes and Jackson Dart. And God forbid something slips or you throw a duck, you're going to hear about it for a week.
I didn't want
no
to
part of
I didn't
that.
want to throw it, but nobody came
No,
over to get the
I know.
ball.
I
I
know.
had to throw it.
I know.
But I will say one thing about that though. You know, the funny part about it is Avis Roper, who used to work in the media relations department here with the Giants. You were here with Avis, right? For a couple of years before he left for the NFL?
Of course.
Avis took great pride in his arm.
Oh, he had a good arm. He did.
He did.
He did.
He had a good arm. Absolutely had a good arm. And he never passed up an opportunity to throw the ball back.
Well, Avis was also like 6'3" and like 250.
Absolutely.
A large man. Maybe not 6'3", like 6'2", Avis?
Probably 6'2".
Yeah. All right, let's go to Cliff in New York. He's up next. Hey, Cliff.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up? Can you get off speakerphone, Cliff? It sounds like you're calling us from a submarine.
Or an airline hangar.
Is this better?
That is much better.
There you
Cliff,
go.
what do you got?
That's what happens when you pick up the handset. I'm delighted to hear that everybody's got multiple skills on both sides of the ball. I'm just wondering if that gives us an edge, or if everybody else is doing the same thing.
In terms of what?
Players can, on both DL and OL, can play different positions and
I mean, Cliff, I don't think that is impacted by what other teams are doing. I think it just gives you more versatility in building your roster if you know a guy can play guard and tackle. It gives you a little bit more flexibility that way.
Look at it this way. You know there are going to be injuries, right?
That too.
You know that. So the more flexibility you have, every coach will tell you, the better he's going to sleep at night, because it gives him more options as opposed to, what do we do now?
Well, that's what I was thinking. It gives him options when he game plans and during the game,
That too.
doesn't it? I mean, he can come up with things they haven't seen before on film. It seems like he could do that for maybe 4 or 5 games before they can catch up and see what's going on with these different ways that they can use guys on both sides.
Well, I think that's one thing that Jason Sehorn used to tell us all the time about whenever you played the St. Louis Rams and Mike Martz's offense. Martz had so many different things that he could do with his receivers, his backs, and his tight ends. You know, when Kurt Warner was there and they were the greatest show on turf.
Yep.
And he would say it didn't matter. And, John, this is true. Sehorn would say you could watch 3 or 4 games and still not have a clue as to what he's doing on offense, because Martz was that creative in terms of being able to mix and match his guys.
Who said that to you, you said?
Sehorn.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sehorn really studied this stuff, and he's like, you watch 3 or 4 games, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because Martz is going to show you something on Sunday that you haven't seen on tape. He always had the ability to swap guys around in all different ways and have them do different things.
Well, that's what I think we might have going, man. It sure sounds like it to me, especially to get the jump on people in the first quarter of the season. Nobody knows what anybody's doing the first game. I'm thinking of Belichick used to talk about this all the time. Nobody knows about the first game, but once you got something down on tape,
Sure.
It becomes easier to prepare and play during the game.
Well, Cliff, one thing we're seeing, too, they are moving the wide receivers around, too. Like, guys are inside, outside.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
Why can't Wandale run down the field like Hyatt?
Now, one thing. John and I were on a seminar with the NFL yesterday. Remember what they were talking about, pre-snap penalties? Mm-hmm. Pre-snap penalties have gone up exponentially in the last several years here in the league. Last year, there were over an average of over 6 pre-snap penalties per game, according to what they told us on the NFL seminar yesterday for the broadcasters. And they're saying to all the officiating crews, when you go around to camps this summer, make sure you emphasize to your team, to your teams, your coaches, and your players, we're calling this stuff. You guys better clean it up, because we had a ton of them last year. And it's not like they're going to stop calling it. They want teams to clean up that pre-snap penalty stuff. And we're seeing more motion now than ever. It's tricky. The more you do that, the more you put yourself in position to potentially get called for a flag.
Well, I just like our chances to get the jump on people. And, people, by the way, talking about the strength of the schedule. When somebody's considered a good team, if not an elite team, they have a record of like 11-6 or 12-5. That means they lost 6 games and they lost 5 games. I don't think they always lose to teams in their weight class in that situation. I just think if we come out like gangbusters, I think it could really be something. Even if we have to sit without Andrew because they've made enough of improvement to get by without him a little bit better.
Thank you, Cliff. Appreciate the call. And look,
All right.
starting the season strong, important, yes. Even more important than that, starting games faster.
Yeah.
The Giants have been trailing. I mean, Warren Sharp had this, and his podcast, I think, is coming out Friday for us. He does a great job with the numbers. I think, I don't have no them offhand, but the bottom line is that the Giants have done worse in the first halves of games than like any other team, like almost since Dable's gotten here. And they just start games so slow. And I know, I've heard Dable talk to his team about starting faster in these games. Like, if you're going to get the most out of what this defensive front can do rushing the passer, you got to get some leads. You can't be constantly playing from behind. If you want to use play action on offense to let Russell Wilson do his thing like he did in Seattle, you can't do that if you're down 14 points in the second quarter. You got to start faster offensively.
Yeah, for sure. You know, they give us, bless you, they give us a game book, which is a play-by-play description that the statisticians print out after every game in every NFL stadium. John, how many times have we looked at that game book getting ready to do the radio postgame show? And one of the stat lines they have in the game book is time that the team led, time of the game was tied, and how much time on the clock was when the team was trailing. Invariably, every week, it is totally lopsided against the Giants in terms of time on the clock trailing.
All right, I got some stats here for you. I looked it up. This is off of teamrankings.com. Hopefully this is
okay.
accurate.
What do you got?
So 2024 season, only one team averaged fewer points than the Giants in the first quarter. That was the Bears. The Giants averaged 2.1 points per first quarter.
It's not even a field goal.
You know, the top teams and everyone out of the bottom half is like above 4 points per first quarter. 2023, the Giants were last in the league in terms of first quarter points. 1.5 points for first quarter in the 2023 season. Let me give you the 2022 season. And that was a year where the Giants actually played well. They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game, right? Well, that year in the first quarter of games, the Giants, let's see, they were a little bit better that year. No, they weren't. A little bit, but not much. 2.8 points per game. That was fifth worst in the National Football League in 2022.
Well, that was the year that Jones, I believe, led them to 6 come-from-behind fourth-quarter victories.
Yeah. Even you want to go back to 2021, the year before that, 2.1, tied for worst. That was before Dable got here. So it's something that they need to do a better job of. Whatever that is, and I'm hoping that the change in quarterback will help that a little bit. Maybe that was a Daniel Jones problem as much as it was a something else problem. But you got to start the games faster. And hopefully Russell Wilson, who's seen everything and maybe doesn't need as much time to figure out what the defense is doing, can get these games and the Giants offense off to a little bit of a quicker start.
Yeah, no question, John. I'll back that one up 100%.
No question. All right, let's go back to the phones at 201-939-4513. Our buddy Abdul is in Minneapolis. Abdul, what's up, man? Long time no speak.
How you guys doing?
We're good.
Gosh, I've been tweeting with Paul the past few days.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm kind of. It's okay. I'm glad I'm hearing some positive stories about how the O-line is coming together, how Evan Neal is looking good at guard. But that's lead me to worry that our run defense is once again going to be an issue.
The run defense today, Abdul, was actually pretty darn good. Day one, okay. I thought the Giants ran. They broke a couple explosives, which I'm sure the defensive wasn't happy with it. I think they maybe had 2 runs all of practice today that went for more than 10 yards. Maybe the run defense today was actually pretty good.
Now I would add one thing, Abdul. Brian Burns told us yesterday in his media veil. You were there for that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He said to us, it's hard mentally because you want to get into the play and all you can do is contact and thud. And it's hard for these defensive players not to tackle.
And the other part of it, too, I'll give you, Abdul, very briefly. Dexter Lawrence is not doing very much team stuff at all.
No, he's not.
So they don't have their best defensive tackle in there either. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. Go ahead.
Well, you guys just led me to a point of mine. Once again, I'm not sure if the Giants did enough in the offseason. to get that backup nose tackle, or the second defensive tackle, because once Dexter is off the field, because he can't play every single snap.
Sure.
There's a precipitous fall in talent from the defensive line, and we were all hoping that this offseason they would, and once again we're as you said, they can't really tackle, but I'm just really worried that might, because we have this great pass rush, but we can't use the pass rush if they're never in pass rushing situations.
I can tell you, Abdul, I feel good about him, but the coaching staff feels even better about him, and that's Roy Robertson Harris. They think he is going to be a huge help in that regard. I'm not sure if he's going to be the backup nose necessarily. I think he's more of like the 3 or 5 technique type of player. But he's Chris Canty sized. He's huge. He's gigantic. He's going to be good against the run. Nacho has been, he was the 3 tech last year. I think they're using him more as the backup nose in the spring. So I think that will give you a little bit more consistency at that spot. And then you hope Jeremiah Ledbetter comes in and he can help in that regard. Darius Alexander can develop as a rookie. I think he's probably based on what Dable said today, he seems to be a little further along.
I really haven't heard. I've heard that he's kind of struggling. He's not looking too well. Paul actually tweeted to me saying that he's improving, but I really haven't heard his name much. I've heard other people's.
He's been pretty good. He's been pretty good in the one-on-one pass rush drills. He's shown off some really good power and length in those drills, and even Dable said today he shows a lot of natural pass rush ability. I'd be lying, Abdul, if I was focusing in on him and what he's doing on these run plays and these run downs. We're watching from the sideline, so a lot of time what's happening in the middle of the defensive and offensive lines, it's hard to see because the guys all mashed together and you can't really isolate guys and how they're doing in there.
Sure.
So I'll be honest with you, I'm going to try to go back and watch some of the practice stuff tomorrow because we don't have practice. I'll actually have some time in the morning to get some work done. But I have not watched him in run situations yet, but he has definitely shown pass rush promise in those situations.
I think the other guy who's kind of a sleeper here, and he has not done a whole lot so far, but he's got a little time yet, is still Jordan Riley. Andre Patterson likes him, John.
Well, he better get moving.
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, and the problem is, to this point, he has not really shined a whole lot in this training camp.
It's a crowded room, so you better start shining.
He better start getting it going. He's got the body to be the backup nose tackle, but he needs to consistently bring it every single time he's on the field. There's still a month or so to go. There are 3 preseason games to go. He better set the alarm clock off because Jordan Riley is going to have to, if he's got any chance of being that backup nose, he's going to have to make it happen now.
Well, one more thing. Is it true that Elijah Chapman had some fullback plays today?
Yeah, you know what? Thank you, Abdul. I forgot to mention that in talking about practice. Yes, he was used as a battering ram fullback, which I think given his stature, leverage, and strength, I think is a position that could work really well for him.
Very interesting to see how that will turn out.
And we did get 1 or 2 off-season calls about that, if I recall. I forget what callers called about it, but I mean, they hadn't used him there yet, but they did today.
He had done some of that at SMU.
Yep.
And he wants to. He's eager to do it.
Well, as a long-term Giants fan, there's certain years that you just have a gut feeling that won't turn out so well. I'm really excited about the energy that I'm hearing about and feeling and seeing so far in the first week of this training camp. And I hope it continues to grow and get better. All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
No, Abdul, always good to hear from you, man. Appreciate the call. Scott Young, this question off of YouTube again. You guys do a great job with the comments. Thank you for tuning in and putting your questions in there. Scott Young wants to know, Dexter not getting a ton of reps. How's the middle of the defense look against the run? That's been a very weak point. And that was similar to what Abdul just asked us. Today it was better. I thought the run defense today did a nice job. There was not a lot of room to move for the running backs in the middle of that line. So I think day 2 in pads better than day 1.
We did not mention DJ Davidson earlier.
He went down with an injury during practice.
It looked like he limped a little bit as he came off, so he was a bit banged up today. He is bigger, by the way, than I've ever seen him before.
But I did not see a helmet slam or towel over his head. So by the Paul Dottino injury meter, I think we feel better about that, right?
I agree. It's very unscientific.
Yeah, that's about as unscientific as you can, actually.
But he is definitely bulked up. He has a much wider, thicker frame than he's had in the past, and he's obviously involved in that competition too.
Okay, we got Sergeant 77. Haven't heard much on the kicking game. That's been a problem the past few years. How we looking? We had a few kicks at the end of the first few days of practice, but
not much to go
I've been
by.
so locked in on the padded stuff the last 2 days. Have they kicked it all the last couple of days, Paul?
Well, Gano did some kicks today at the very end, but nothing really to speak of, and they're not forcing these kickers to kick 55-yarders at the beginning of training camp.
Right.
That's not happening either. So, and they're going to try to keep Gillen in as minimal punting situations as possible because you don't want to burn his leg out either or get him hurt. So there's really not much to say. I will add one other item, though, for you, and that is when Graham Gano is healthy, and I know in each of the last 2 years that hasn't been the case, John, but when Graham Gano's healthy, he's as good as any kicker in the league.
Yeah, we just haven't seen that in a bit.
No.
The last 2 years he's been hurt. So I think he was pretty good end of last year. He got more consistent once he got back and got healthier.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah, he was
Once he
okay.
got back, I will say McAtamaney is working his butt off. Really, really working his butt
And
off.
if he's practice squad again, I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, he has the international exemption
Exactly,
again. I
right.
did check on that. That is true. He does get that exemption again this season, so they could carry him on the practice squad.
Without them taking up a spot.
Yeah.
All right, couple more calls before we say goodbye. You can give us another call if you want at 201-939-4513. Jeff in Maine is up next. Hey, Jeff.
Oh, hey, afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks so much for taking my call.
What do you got for us?
So I think there's going to be a lot of close games this year, and the difference in some of them, I'm thinking, could be a big play in the return game, and by the same token, not fumbling it. And so I love Gunnar Olszewski, the reacquisition of him. I love Smith-Marset, but I think if we had a great third returner, because it's a long season, that would make us even stronger. And I'm liking Dante Miller. He's 5'7", I think, like a bowling ball, and real fast. What do you guys think? And have they even been practicing returning kicks and punts?
Yeah, they have. They didn't do much return game the first couple days of practice this year, but they've done more the last couple of days. Dante Miller, to your point, Jeff, and I think it's a good one. Body type, athleticism, skill set, seems made in a lab to be a good kick returner.
Speed.
Kickoff returner,
ridiculous.
not punt, kick returner.
Speed's ridiculous.
And he does go back there when they do those drills.
Mm-hmm.
But that can't be his main role if he's going to take up a 53-man roster spot. So he's going to have to contribute on coverage teams or in another way, along with the return stuff. As, again, is he going to, and we'll see if Gunnar Olszewski, and we should mention that the Giants did re-sign or did sign Gunnar Olszewski. We mentioned that on yesterday's show briefly. Special teams ace, he's back. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix Miller in with those other top three backs, Paul, which we talked about. Keeping four backs, if you're keeping four tight ends, that could get very tough.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the preseason still to sort some of this out. And, of course, there's always going to be injuries that are going to force you into a position where you're going to have to keep X number of these guys and X number of these guys, too. How many you keep in a certain drawer. Injuries are always going to impact that. I will add this, though. When you look at the return game, to me, all right, and I know I've emphasized special teams a lot here in this offseason. I've really harped on that a lot. To me, when you've got Slayton, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson. I know Washington has been doing a lot of returning here too, John, during the camp. Bly can even do some of that stuff. I don't necessarily know if Washington or Bly are going to be here, but if you had to put Robinson or Slayton back there in a pinch, they could do it. Honestly, do you really need a quote third return guy on the team?
No, I agree.
No, you really don't.
Mm-hmm. And Tracy could do it too, by the way.
Yeah, sure he could.
A lot of names there. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff, you got something else for us or no?
Well, yeah, I just hate to see putting a starter back there because I remember, what happened with, a couple starting defensive backs over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And, all right, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate your show, John.
No, appreciate it, Jeff. Hey, look, that's why you have Smith-Marset, though. He's not a starter.
Right.
That's and same with Gunnar if he makes the team. Those are two guys that's what you're going to depend on. But it's hard to have, but the things like Gunnar does other stuff. Amir Smith-Marset once Wandell went out, he was the next guy up at wide receiver for them.
He's been getting more wide receiver reps.
He has been. So
and he's held the ball, too. He's caught it.
He's done a nice job. All right, this is on a similar topic, so I'll go back to Virtually Speaking podcast on YouTube. Who should you sign as a wide receiver from free agency, considering how many injuries we've seen in training camp? Never thought I'd say this, but should we bring back OBJ? Should we be worried about Hyatt, who is still not back on the practice field? Look, you've had some injuries. Bryce Ford-Wheaton. Hyatt has not practiced. Wanda Robbins has missed a couple of days, so I understand where you're coming from on that. That makes sense. I don't know where OBJ is in terms of how well he can run anymore. That's something that Paul and I just don't know. If you look at the free agent wide receiver list, you have some other guys that have been more productive in recent years. Keenan Allen's a free agent. Amari Cooper's a free agent. I know we got a Gabe Davis call the other day. He's still a free agent. Nelson Aguilar, who's still a good player, he's a free agent. Tyler Boyd is a free agent. So you got a number of guys in there that have had recent success in the National Football League. So, look, could you think about picking up a receiver? Sure, I think they like their 4 undrafted free agents there. You have Little Joe Humphrey, you have Zach Pascal. I don't think you're at the point yet where it's a situation where your numbers are low to the point where you need to bring new people in. I think they're happy to split the reps among the guys that are here.
I would assume the guys you just mentioned, John, are all going to be very selective as to where they go anyway.
They don't want to be a depth piece on a team. They want to have a chance to play.
Yeah, they're not coming in anywhere to be a 4 or a 5. They're going to want to be at least a 3.
And make like the league minimum.
Right.
Correct.
So you got to have 2 to tango, right? So you may say, wouldn't it be nice to add one of these guys, but they're not necessarily going to reciprocate that interest. So, and I will say this, by the way, I believe that one of the reasons Gunnar Olszewski was signed so quickly after Ford-Wheaton got hurt is because the Giants wide receiver room has been banged up and he knows the playbook.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Good point. All right, let's go to our buddy Wilson in Roxbury. We haven't heard from Wilson in a while. At least I haven't. Maybe Paul's talked to him. Wilson, what's going on, man?
No, hey, Johnny, Paulie, how are you? No, I haven't called Johnny. I've just been listening. So,
we appreciate that.
But I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it anymore. So listen. Anyway, before I start, after today, negative Wilson is going to go to like a darkness retreat, to ayahuasca. So after today, no more negativity.
How about we start today? How about we start that right now, Wilson?
Because I got to hammer you, and I got to tell you, Johnny, I'm a little disappointed in you, and I'm going to tell you why.
What?
But Paulie, well, I'll tell you. Give me a minute. But Paulie, you are setting yourself up to be hammered by me, by Charlie, by the guy in Florida, but all the guys that actually don't see everything as rainbows and roses, because I got to hear again, man, that Russell Wilson is bringing everybody up and there's a good atmosphere and this and that. Holy, you think Champagne gave him $30 million to leave because he's a good player? Did you see the last 6 games last year of Russell Wilson's play?
Okay,
the guy is
whoa.
So in
Wilson.
what world is this a better quarterback room? In what world?
Wilson, hold on. Hold on.
Go ahead. Come on.
I've talked to Max Starks, who was part of the Steelers. Well, you want an answer. I'm going to give it to you. Max Starks, who was part of the longtime offensive lineman, who was part of the Steelers radio crew. I had an extensive conversation with him the night that Wilson signed with the Giants. And he told me flat out, huge problem there. There was a coaching staff issue. Wilson and Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, they were butting heads something fierce. Tomlin wasn't solving it very well. It wasn't smoothing it over very well. And so there was a lot of disconnect in terms of what was going on in Pittsburgh. They also ran into some very good defenses. They weren't balanced in terms of their rushing attack. Their wide receiving room was significantly banged up. In short, Max Starks said to me, Russell Wilson has at least one more good year left in him where he's going to be a competitive starter in this league. Now, that's a guy who knows a lot better than you or me.
Okay, Paulie, fine, whatever you say. It's July 19th.
It's what Max Starks said, not what I said. It's what Max Starks told me.
Listen to me. When we are 2-5, and he's like on pace to have the most sacks in the history of the NFL. I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna remind you today. Why you keep telling me that? You keep telling all Giants fans that
how many times?
You know what? There's one thing I'm a little upset, and this is with Johnny. You guys are throwing Daniel Jones under the bus every chance you get. And Daniel Jones was a class act from the first day. Come on, Johnny. You keep saying that it was Daniel Jones' problems that didn't score enough points. I mean, when the Giants made the playoffs, His best receiver was Reggie James, Johnny.
He played well in Wilson.
Wilson,
He played Wilson.
To me personally, I
Wilson,
don't like that,
Wilson,
Johnny.
hold
But
on. Wilson, hold
I
on.
know I can tell you this stuff
I
because
know.
you guys
Wilson,
love
hold
me
on.
and you let me. Go ahead.
Let me go back and forth. First of all, we get routinely accused of being Daniel Jones apologists, first of all. So just for the record, we also deal with that. A few different things that you said. I want to hit them one by one. We can go back and forth. Let's just bang through these.
You're not upset, are you? You're not mad at me, right? You know it's all
Wilson,
fun, right?
If I was upset, you know I was upset. You know that.
Okay.
You'd have been hung up on already.
No, I don't hang up on people.
No,
I just yell at them.
Lance does that.
I just yell at people. I don't hang up on people.
That's right.
I yell at people.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
First thing on Daniel Jones. He played pretty well in 2022, especially as a runner. On no planet last year did Daniel Jones play well. He did not.
No, he didn't, Johnny. But obviously he didn't. But what about Malik Neighbors drops a pass that if he catches that pass, they win the game.
No, but Wilson, I don't care about Wilson.
But it can't be everything about now Russell Wilson is gonna fix everything.
No, I'm not. Wilson. I said Wilson. Stop. I said one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Okay, I'm going to knock through one little thing at a time. I don't want to, because if you get into the whole conversation, we're going to be here forever.
Okay,
all right.
Go ahead, Johnny. I'm
so,
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's all good. So, last year he did not play well. And you know me. What do I always say? Wins and losses is not a quarterback record. I am not blaming Daniel Jones for the Giants' record last year. It is not a quarterback record, generally speaking. I'm a huge advocate of that. Paul knows that. Anyone that listens to the show regularly knows that. Mm-hmm. And no. But if you look at the first 6 games last year, Wilson, what did we consistently say on this show? The offensive line played well enough for this team to function. They did. They played well enough for this offense to function. And for a couple games, you saw it. Like Daniel Jones, he played pretty well against Cleveland in that game. They won that game 21-15. But the bottom line is that in these games, they scored 6 points, 18 points, 21 points, 15 points, 7 points. They did score 29 against Seattle in one of their wins. But then the Bengals, who, by the way, the Bengals last year, Wilson, they had maybe the worst defense in football. The Giants scored 7 points. They scored 3 against Philly,
I'm not
18 against Pittsburgh.
That. All I'm just, I guess my point is, you know what? I'm a little worried. That Daniel Jones is going to win the Indy job,
and I think he will. By the way,
he will, and he will win games.
Definitely he will. Yeah, I don't. You know, he's done. He's in there already, and he's going to be maybe 6-3, 5-4. And then Giant fans like ourselves are going to say, well, what the hell are we doing?
Well, Wilson,
and then,
I'll say this.
And then what happened?
Wilson, let me say this. This is Giant fans.
Gave up too much.
No, I get it. Wilson, final thing.
6'5", 250.
Wilson, final thing. Final thing.
Go ahead.
We've said these things about Russell Wilson, and we're going off what players are telling us, by the way, in terms of how he's lifted the area up. And I think he doesn't turn the ball over. He's willing to throw the ball and make explosive plays down the field. Wilson, you know, we've talked about this show a million times, and no one more than me. And Daniel just did not make enough explosive plays. He just didn't. Through the air. He did not make enough explosive plays. You expect more from Russell Wilson. But, Wilson, let me finish. Stop trying to talk over me. Let me finish, Wilson. Hold on 1 second. Final thing I'll say. With all the things that we said about Russell Wilson and what we like, Giant fans should not expect him to come in and put the team on his back and carry them this year. That's not the player that he is. To your point, and I've said this on the show a million times, you've heard me, he takes too many sacks, all right? He needs help from the offensive line. He needs a run game so that he could run play action off of that, and he needs his wide receivers to get open and make plays down the field. No one here is saying this is going to be hand the ball to Russell Wilson, let him cook, and he's going to be dominant no matter what's going on around him. We're not saying that. Giant fans should not expect that. He's going to need help.
So there's the big question then. What? So everything again is it's the same thing again than we had last year with Daniel. Everything is if. Everything is if again. When is the if gonna end?
Because football is not a one-man sport, Wilson.
Wilson,
it's a team sport.
About this season.
It is a team sport.
Correct.
Football
Thanks for the
is
call, Wilson.
not.
Appreciate it.
It's not baseball where your pitcher, yes, the fielders have to help him out some, but your pitcher has an awful lot to do with how you do. He's got to throw strikes. He's got to be able to fool the hitters. But they're going to put some balls in play, and his guys are going to have to field the ball. Well, in football, every play is incumbent upon your team.
There are maybe 4 quarterbacks in the league, if you're lucky, that can be great no matter what's going on around them.
Those are the elite guys.
And those guys even get affected by what's happening around them. So that's just the way it is. I mean,
look.
But there are things that, and by the way, Daniel Jones took 1 million sacks too. Do I need to show you the giant sack numbers given up 2 years ago?
No.
He also
I don't need to see them.
But you know what? He also cut down his interceptions because he took more sacks. That's kind of the trade-off you took
And actually,
there.
team drops.
Yes.
Has been a horrific stat for the Giants, and they did it to Daniel, and if they do it to Russell Wilson this year, he won't succeed very highly either.
That's correct. 100%. So, no, it was not all Daniel Jones' fault. We've said that 1 million times. He did not get the help he needed. But he also, the play deteriorated for him from what he was in 2022.
It did.
And I think the accumulation of hits and sacks and just all the pressure from the losses and the injuries, sometimes a guy needs a change of scenery.
Yep.
It's just the way it is. And I think it was time for him to have a change of scenery. And I love Daniel. I hope he succeeds in Indianapolis. I think he can succeed in Indianapolis. He's got a pretty good supporting cast there, to be quite totally honest with you. I think he's got some good players around him up there. I think he has a chance to do pretty well. But if you look even at Russell, and I didn't want to go through the full game log, I brought it up. But even in the stretch where Russell Wilson did not do so good last year, his not so good stretch of Russell Wilson was comparable to a normal stretch for what DJ gave you from year to year. The last 2 years at least, when he was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And Wilson also is healthier a lot more than Daniel Jones. Stays on the field.
That's true too.
It's a big factor. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. I hope that made it clear, Wilson, that we're not, this is not us talking about Aaron Rodgers to the Jets last year, right? That's not the conversation we're having.
No, we are not.
That's not how, and if people think we're talking about it that way, we're not. We'll tell you right now. That's not how we've been trying to frame this, because that's not what this is. All right, Mike in Indiana. He's going to be our final caller today. You're going to wrap us up. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. Hope you all are doing well. It's a shame I got to follow up Wilson. Always exciting when he calls in. I got 3 things that I wanted to touch base on. I know you're about to end the show, but
no, you're fine. You got time. Go ahead.
Penalties, pre-snap penalties. How could you compare it to other years at this, at this start of the game, at the start of training camp? Is it any more worse than what you've seen in years past? Or do you think it's has something to do with, the interchanging of the guys? And number 2 is who has been the primary 5 out there, with our swing tackle with Thomas being sitting out, who have been like the primary 5 guys that you all have seen out there, who's done well? Has Evan Neal, I guess Evan Neal is, transitioning into guard pretty well. So I've heard how that looked from your perspective. And then number 3 is Cameron Scadaboo to you, does it feel different, like with him, being a 4th round guy coming in like he is with all this hype, at least statistical hype, 1,700 yards rushing, 600 yards receiving, caught 53 passes, whatever it was. Does he seem like, I guess, separated from anyone that you could compare him to? Is he making his name for that third down back, that pass catching back, even though Tracy can obviously catch the ball? Is it starting to trend towards him being the number 2 back in the 3-headed monster that we have? And I'll take my answers off the air. I appreciate you guys. Go Giants.
No, thank you, Mike. Appreciate the call. I think Paul said this earlier, that in situations he could see Scadaboo being your second most usage back. I agree with him. I don't think it's a third down back situation, though, because I think they like Tracy as a third down back as well. I think it's just more get him more snaps, just allow him to own a series, own a possession, however you want to look at it, and let him grind it. Because he's the guy that wants to grind, too. He's not... He's going to wear on you over the course of a game.
And the hope is you can keep both guys healthy for 17 games,
Correct.
too.
And you know what? You're never going to, because it's a running back. So you always have a guy that can step in and then take a bigger load from it. In terms of the offensive line, I think the procedural stuff has been pretty normal at this point in camp. It's been fairly clean, except for yesterday when at one point Brian Dable got a little annoyed when the offensive line had a little movement on some of those drills. That's when they were trying to get out of their shadow of their own goal line inside the 5, and I think obviously the offensive linemen are anxious to get off the ball on those plays to prevent losses, and there were a couple procedural penalties that he was not thrilled with.
A rough delay of game today, too.
Yeah,
He's
that's true.
Really angry
But
at that
you
one.
usually see that sometimes at the beginning. I don't think it's anything that much different than what we've seen in years past. There have been a few. And then in terms of the starting offensive line, it's been the same 5 that we started last year with, the primary ones, which is left tackle James Hudson instead of Andrew Thomas, John Runyon at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center. Right guard has been Greg Van Roten and Evan Neal. I mean, has it been almost even? They've split the snaps. Van Roten maybe a little bit more than Neal.
Yeah.
Because then Neal's been with the twos at both right and left guard.
Then he goes to left.
So
yeah, exactly.
He's done both, so they're working on both sides. And then they've had Jermaine Illuminor has been a rock over at right tackle. And look, Neal's done a nice job. I think he's making progress and he's getting better. I think I've liked what I've seen from him at guard, and I think he has a chance to wrestle his way into some playing time. But I think early returns is pretty good. I think James Hudson's been fine, by the way. Like, it hasn't been a situation. He hasn't been perfect. He's been beaten. But it hasn't been a deal where whoever's lined up over him is just in the backfield constantly. I have not seen that.
I'll say this about him. He's very feisty.
No, he likes to play.
Oh, boy, is he feisty.
Did they ask Burns about him yesterday at the media availability?
He talks a lot. He talks a lot. He's very energetic, and the only thing that Brian Dable said about Hudson in particular was that you love his edge, you love his energy, but you also got to make sure you keep it under control, because there are going to be times in the game where if you let that go overboard, it's going to hurt your team.
And look, we saw that in the spring, that one time when the media was here, correct? And
we did.
There was a little bit of a brouhaha. So, all right, we started 5 minutes late, so we went 5 minutes late. Still got you an hour of content here on Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. Make sure you go check out the Giants Huddle podcast, folks. The newest episode with Jeff Fiegels from yesterday is up. Jeff and I have some fun. You know, Jeff, he's been on the show with us forever. It was good to talk with him. We play a little pronounced names of NFL draft prospects at the end of the show, which was always entertaining. Sadly, Jeff actually did pretty well with that, which was very disappointing for me. But he did. So make sure you go check that out. Giants Huddle Podcast, Giants.com/podcast, Giants app, or go to the Giants YouTube channel. Just search for Giants Huddle Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We're in the Hackensack Rudy Health Podcast Studio. Keep getting better. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. I think it's me and you again tomorrow, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is
at 2:00.
I'm back here tomorrow.
No, I think it's Side Tack tomorrow. Actually,
Is it?
I think I slid Side Tack in tomorrow.
Okay.
So make sure you guys go check that out tomorrow on Big Blue Kickoff Live, and we'll talk to you then.